All right, are we ready to get started then?
Yeah, we have a new new roster on the board here, and then we have today. You've done this before, though, right, Liesl?
It's been a while since I've sat in this seat, but yes.
All right. Well, we got Robin still here, so she can.
All right. I will call the meeting to order at 6:56. Let the minutes reflect that all board members are present, and that brings us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right.
Everybody stand. Harvey's got the flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We had closed session for an hour tonight. No action was taken. That brings us to superintendent's comments.
All right. Well, hold on a second. All right. Well, I just want to start off by saying it's been a pretty tough week for us all the way around in terms of being Californians and being Americans. For us personally in California, this has been one of the most difficult weeks of the pandemic in terms of losing people. I know the ICU units in the Central Valley in Southern California are pretty overwhelmed right now. We're fortunate that we have some ICU beds left. Northern California is actually doing really well. And that's not to mention everything that went on at the U.S. Capitol and, you know, the upcoming inauguration on the 20th. So we have a lot going on right now in terms of health and in our country, and I hope everybody out there is safe, and hope everybody, you know, has time to take a deep breath and just, you know, take in the good things that are going on, be with family, and we're going to get through this together. Help is on the way. You're hearing a lot of talk in the news about vaccines rolling out. Phase 1B is going to start up here pretty soon, which means that a lot of our healthcare workers and nursing home facilities will have been vaccinated. Phase 1B is going to include food service workers, agriculture workers, educators, and now they're saying those over the age of 65. So that's going to be a pretty tall order within our county. That's going to encompass about 300,000 people within our county to vaccinate. But with everybody that gets vaccinated, that's going to help out the greater cause. And so we just got to hang in there. We got to continue to mask, and we got to continue to social distance and keep those hands clean and persevere through this. We've made it a long ways. We still got a little bit more to go, but help is on the way, and there's that light at the end of the tunnel there, and we're going to make it. With that being said, this weekend, I want to just tell everybody that we had a break-in over at Old River. Somebody had cut our lock and had taken a lot of our landscaping tools in terms of the little motorized leaf blowers and line trimmers and things like that. It's something that we can replace, but if anybody out there has any information on anybody who broke into Old River, either last Friday night or early Saturday morning, please give us a call here at the school. There's an active investigation going on. Back on the COVID front, we're looking at seeing the end of this peak by the end of this month. So any peak that we had because of Christmas or New Year's or any sort of gathering, by the end of January, we should definitely see a plateau and this peak starting to subside, which is a good thing. Hopefully we can get those numbers down, and then we can start that process of reopening. That's my superintendent's comments for today.
Thank you. Do you have any comments as principal?
Principal, things are pretty much status quo at nights in school. We have our security cameras in here at nights in school. That was one of the things that we finished. We're starting to prepare classes for a return. So when we can get those numbers down to get a return date, we're going to be ready to go. We're planning on getting our presentations together and training our staff of what it's going to look like, but we're also getting some items together to talk with parents about what it's going to look like. It's going to be different for a while, but we're eagerly anticipating being able to return here before the end of the school year, certainly. But we just got to make sure that if you have the opportunity to get the vaccine, please consider it and stay safe. We got to limit the gatherings for a little while longer.
All right. Principal Polk.
Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Yurkovich. We are also, like Knightson, getting prepared for our eventual return to school, whenever that is. We've begun spacing our desks out, and we actually are starting to install more cameras and cameras in general on the Old River campus. That's the big project that we've undertaken this week. So glad that those are getting installed, and thankful for the people who are able to help us out, and that the weather's held up. So.
All right. Thank you. Which brings us to board comments. I have a quick question, which may be silly, but I'm assuming all our equipment that's in on the storage things, do we have them marked like with KESD or anything on like that on everything?
I don't believe that we do.
I was thinking it might be a good idea, if somebody's trying to sell the stuff or even use it somewhere, if someone sees that, they'd know where it belonged.
Can I interject? We do have barcodes depending on the price of the items. The equipment has asset tags on them. So they would have either a white tag, depending if they're over $500, you get a white tag. If they are under, I believe the tag is a yellow color, but it does say Knighton School District on it with a barcode. But
okay, that's because I'm just thinking if they were marked, maybe we should paint them all a terrible color. But just if someone was out and saw it, they would someone would get the idea that it was stolen.
Well, that I wrote down on my little notepad. I have an etching tool.
Yeah, something like that.
Etching pen that I'll have the custodians go through. That's a great idea that we can put property of Knighton Elementary School District and then put our school district phone number on there. And then that way, if somebody recovers it or they recover it somewhere else, they'll see that it's been property of ours. Somebody literally have to take and file it off. So thank you, Ms. Williams. I have that down in my notes to get out to our custodians.
All right. Okay. Board Member Baldacci, any comments?
No comment.
Board Member Gold?
I don't have any comments this evening.
Okay. Board Member Pagati? Oh.
There we go. No comment.
All right. Board Member Pastor?
No comment.
All right. I also meant to welcome Ms. Gold and Ms. Pagati to the board.
Thank you.
You picked a great year to be on the board. All right. That brings us to the approval of the minutes from December 9th and December 16th.
I'll move approval of December 9th.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5 ayes. Yes.
Liesl, since that board meeting was Robin, Janice, you, me, and Stephanie.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Weren't there yet. So that'd be 3 ayes and 2
There you go.
absence.
Abstain?
Retired.
Not exactly, well, they're not exactly abstaining. They just weren't on the board yet. Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes from December 16th?
I'll move to approve the minutes of December 16th, and I did read through them, and I was there.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I can make a second to approve the minutes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, that was 5 ayes. Do we have any parent club reports?
I have not received anything from the Knightson Parents Club.
For Old River, I have two. Our PTC was unable to hold our in-person holiday boutique, so they held it virtually. It was very successful, and they're thinking about turning it into an annual event. They're looking to have a Sweetheart Boutique on February 13th, should all of the county guidelines and everything be lifted. Currently, we are having at our school a C's Valentine Candy fundraiser. On the Aura PTC Facebook page, there is information, as well as if anyone needed the link, they could email our PTC president or go directly to the C's website and choose the fundraiser. It's Otter's Sweet. And that'll take them straight to the virtual store. But all orders must be placed by January 29th in order to receive by Valentine's Day.
All right. That brings us to the consent agenda. Can everybody still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting weird sound feedback. Okay, the consent agenda, by a single motion, the board approves the items or actions which reflect applications of board policy and California Ed Code. Anybody want to pull anything out of there? They have a question or anything?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Not yet, no. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5 ayes. Motion passes. Do we have any public input?
No public input this evening.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to our board agenda items. We'll consider approval of the CSEA MOU regarding return impacts and effects.
This was a MOU that was negotiated with our CSEA members on the impacts and effects of returning to school. We focused on how we're going to handle sanitation and disinfection. It's going to talk about how we're handling leave and how we're supporting one another through bringing kids back into a hybrid model.
I think you covered everything. Every detail in there was, wow. Yeah.
It was pretty thorough MOU.
Very detailed, yes.
That is an action item. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I had one question on the ventilation.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's been something that's been brought up about bringing the kids back. Was there, I don't know if I missed anything in there regarding changing any ventilation in the classrooms?
Well, as many of you know, the Knightson School District has many different ventilation systems. Some of them are as new as 5 or 6 years old. Some of them are probably over 20 years old. The MERV 13 filters that are recommended, because of the draw of the air, exterior air through the system, will actually damage a lot of our HVAC. So right now, we're looking at air purification systems inside the classroom. So as of right now, what we've been doing is we've had our HVAC company come out and set it to it's the least economical, but that's okay. It sucks in most of the air from outside, runs it through the system, puts it in the classroom. We've given our teachers and staff the okay to run the heater with the doors open or windows open if they have other people in their room. We know it's going to use a lot more power, and we're okay with that at this point. But some of the filters that are recommended would actually damage our systems because of how old they are and the strength of the system that's needed to pull the air through that filter. So we're looking at other options in terms of single unit classroom HEPA filters.
Right. That's what I was wondering, if in the older classrooms we'd consider HEPA filters and using some of the money for that.
Yep. That's that's one of our next steps right now, is the process of looking at reopening.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll move that we approve the SCA MOU regarding return impacts and effects.
And I will second that approval.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh. Aye.
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 5 ayes. Motion passes. Next, consider approval of CSA MOU, the use of video camera monitoring.
Now, this is the MOU that kind of put a hold on our installation of security cameras. We had a tentative date during our fall break to have the full system installed, but needed to put a hold on it because of a demand to bargain that we received. This is the MOU which is a result of that demand to bargain. It outlines how and when the district will use the cameras and what they can and cannot be used for. And so now that we have that worked out, we've been able to continue installing our cameras. And just the irony there with the breakdown, but yeah.
I move that we approve the CSEA MOU for the use of video camera monitoring.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh.
Almost. We almost got it.
We kept staring at each other.
All right. We have our COVID-19 update.
Well, as we progress through this pandemic, the one thing that we have to do is be flexible, and we have to keep the ball rolling right now, but be prepared for what's going to happen in the next couple weeks and further on down the line. I think so far we've been in a really good spot. As vaccine distribution ramps up, I think the dynamic's going to change. We're looking at some counties that the vaccine distribution has been, I should say some states where the vaccine distribution has been more or less a cattle call or a free-for-all, and they're able to get vaccines and get them out. And none are sitting in the freezer. And then we have some that want to take a really regimented approach, like California, that has a system in place and wants to make sure that it's a tiered approach. And, the county public health was taking a lot of criticism for for vaccine sitting in a freezer, not getting into people's arms. As you've seen on the news, there's a lot of planning and preparation going into the distribution piece. Like anything else that's been in this pandemic, at some point, we were wondering where we were going to get our next roll of toilet paper or some hand sanitizer. And now it's readily available everywhere. I think the supply chain of vaccine is here. Once we get the distribution going, it's going to be a great thing for our California society and community, especially locally here in Contra Costa County. One of the things healthcare providers are doing is pushing healthcare systems. So Contra Costa County Public Health is relying heavily on the healthcare systems, Kaiser and John Muir, to distribute the vaccines. They're also employing local pharmacies such as CVS, Walgreens, Safeway. You may have heard that dentists are going to start distributing vaccines. So very soon, you may have to report to your dentist to get vaccinated. You may have to report to Safeway to get vaccinated. We have a lot of people that need this vaccine, and once the system catches up, I think that the distribution problems will have gone away. Educators. It's important that educators get vaccinated because being in contact with people does increase your chances of catching this. Kids, per se, aren't as big of a transmitter as what we once thought, but there's also the prevalence in the community. And if you look at the Contra Costa County Public Health page, our community is still rather high. It's much higher than the county average. We have some communities in our county, like Orinda, Moraga, Alamo, that are much lower than the county average. But unfortunately, out our way, it's much higher than the county average, which says that the higher it is in the community, the higher the risk of the transmission. January 26th is when Phase 1B starts. Phase 1B will include agricultural workers, food service workers, educators, and those over the age of 65. That's going to encompass about 300,000 people in our county. Right now, they're giving out about 3,000 doses a day. Once they get the vaccine clinics up and running, they're hoping to exceed 7,000 a day. At 3,000 a day, it's going to take a while to get through Phase 1B. At 7,000 a day, it's going to move along a lot quicker. So we're looking forward to the day where we get the okay to start sending our staff to get vaccinated, because that's the next logical step in reopening school. After the first shot, we'll be about 80% protected, and then 28 days later, getting the second shot, we'll be anywhere from 94 to 97% protected. So getting that first shot is critical, because 80%, that puts you up there pretty high. In terms of Gavin Newsom's plan, he's being very aggressive in wanting to reopen schools. Part of his plan is to provide us about $425 per student, which sounds like a great amount of money, and it is. But when you look at what it's tied to, it's nowhere near what's needed in order to effectively bring people back. Case in point, if we're higher than 28 cases per 100,000 in the county, our county, we can't even come back under Gavin's plan. If we're higher than 14 per 100,000, we have to test every staff member and every student every week. And for Knightson School District, we have about 600 students and about 60 or 70 staff members that we would have to get tested every week. And right now, there is no infrastructure for testing. And when we look at county public health, their number one priority right now is getting vaccinations out, not testing. So there are some healthcare providers that will test if you're asymptomatic, but largely healthcare providers are only going to test you showing symptoms. So as long as we're over that 14 per 100,000, we have to test everybody every week. If we're under 14 per 100,000, we have to test everybody every 2 weeks. And if the district has to absorb the cost of those tests, 600 tests a week times 100 $100 a test, that's $60,000 a week. And if you look at $425 per child, that's going to get them through about a month of testing at a test a week. Not to mention the additional staff that it's going to need to administer the tests, receive the tests, and facilitate kids that can't come to school because they didn't take a test that week, and or staff members. This is on top of the staffing that needs to go on with people being symptomatic and having to go out in quarantine, and people that need to go into isolation because they've actually caught COVID. So Gavin's plan was rolled out with the best intention, but I don't think there was a lot of forethought about the infrastructure and the feasibility of some of those things tied to his plan in returning so soon. I have no doubt that we'll return sometime this year, but when we're setting records for number of people lost in California, I think yesterday we topped 700. It makes it very difficult. And if the requirement of testing everybody every week is part of that coming back, it's not going to be feasible, because in a small district like Knightson, we're looking at almost 700 tests a week. What are we going to be looking at with Brentwood and Oakley and Byron and Liberty school districts? That's going to put a huge backlog onto our testing system, and there's no way that our current facilities for testing can keep up with those numbers right now. And so I think our best hope right now is to put our focus into getting vaccines into arms, and that's going to help be a permanent solution to where we're at with this pandemic. We've made it a long way. We have a vaccine. The next step is getting it out there to people. But in the meantime, folks, we got to wear masks. We got to continue to distance. And I know that's a bitter pill to swallow with some of our families out there, but the communities that have followed the mandates have been able to keep this under control. And it's a community effort. It's a community effort. And we all want to see our kids come back, but it's going to take everybody working hard. I keep my mask here every day. I wear it every day. I don't like it, but I wear it. And so that's kind of where we're at right now with the whole COVID update. Do we have any board member comments?
None here.
I think we lost.
Oh, go ahead.
I think we lost Tom for a second. There he is.
Oh,
Hey, Mr. Baldacci. So, do we have any?
Okay, I'm back. I got kicked off.
Oh, no. So, with that said, I do not have a proposed date at this time to reopen, because right now my interest is largely in this January 26th phase 1B. And when we get there, what priority are educators going to be within there? And when can we get our staff in the Knightson School District in there to get their first round of vaccine? I believe that's the key to reopening, is getting that first round into our staff's arms, because that's 80% immunity. And 80% isn't 100%, but even with the second round of vaccine, you're still not going to get 100%. But we can start focusing on that when we get some more concrete details. The great part is new information is coming out daily, which means that the ball is rolling. But the difficult part is trying to stay up in front of all the information that's coming daily while trying to manage staff and everything else that's going on in the district. Been watching a lot of news, been reading a lot of articles, been reaching out to a lot of colleagues, and we're going to continue to do that to stay in front of this. But looking forward to that January 26th date.
okay. All right.
And we will have a report on January 27th, the next day. That's our next board meeting.
Yep, sounds good. Do we have any future agenda item suggestions from any board members?
I don't think so.
All right. We'll adjourn the meeting then, 7:25.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Have a
Good
good
night.
Good night, everyone. Have a
Good
great
night.
week.
Wash your hands.
Don't